Hey DCC, welcome to another edition of Morning Coffee. Today I want to talk about a subject that came up this week when I was meeting with a good friend for breakfast and for coffee. And we got on this subject of life-work balance, and we got on the subject of, how do we live our lives and time with our family and different things that we want to do, and the busyness of life and just how much comes in. And so I want to talk to you about margins. And so first of all, I wanted to read this verse from the Old Testament. It's Leviticus 19:9 through 10. And it says this, it says, "Now when you reap the harvest of your land, you shall not reap to the very corners of your field, nor shall you gather the gleanings of your harvest, nor shall you glean your vineyard, nor shall you gather the fallen fruit of your vineyard. You shall leave them for the needy and for the strangers." In other words, all this stuff that's extra, all this stuff that kind of fell on the ground, they're supposed to leave so that the poor and the needy, the marginalized in their community, can actually benefit and have some food. And so that kind of, as I thought through that and I was thinking through margins, and Stu Davis was with us from Springs Rescue Mission, and he talked about margins, so it's kind of been on my mind, is this idea, as I was talking with my friend, he mentioned this whole concept around kind of the Good Samaritan. You might be familiar with the Good Samaritan. Everybody else passes this guy by on the road, but the Good Samaritan stops and he helps the guy. He brings him to an inn. He pays for the guy to stay there, but then he also tells the innkeeper, he says, "Listen, I'm going to come back through on business, and if there's anything that I owe you in addition to what I've already paid, then I'll pay that as well." And so my friend and I were discussing this over coffee and talking about it, and he told me this illustration or this study that had gone on a college campus. And basically, they were doing kind of a psychological test, and they were having these students come to their campus to see what would happen. And so they had the first students arrive at 8:30, and then the second students arrive at 9:30. And the first group of students, when they came in, they were pushed to an individual one at a time, and he said, "Hey, listen, you're going to make a presentation this morning. It's way across campus. You're almost late. You need to get across campus, get there, and then get set up with sound, get your microphone and everything. But you got to hurry because you're almost late, and they need you. So they're going to be waiting on you if you don't hurry." And so that same message was carried across that entire group. At the same time, they had an actor that was sitting halfway down the sidewalk who was playing a homeless person and who was in extreme pain and looked like he was, in need of hospitalization. In that first group, everyone ran by that guy. Everybody kind of ditched him, except for one guy called 911 while he continued to walk by and rush over to the building and says, "Hey, this guy needs help." But in the second group of students, they were given a different message. They said, "Hey, listen, you're here early. You don't have to present till 1 p.m. And so you got plenty of time, but you should go over there and kind of learn where the bathroom is and where the water is, the green room, talk to the sound guys, make sure you know where to get your microphone when you present, but you got plenty of time, so don't worry about it, don't sweat it." And then they gave them directions to the building. And this same group came across the same homeless guy, and every single one of them stopped to help the man and get him help. And so the question that comes out of that is just this idea of, was the first group just super evil? Were they terrible people that just didn't want to help a guy, or is there something else going on? And I think the answer is easy. It was a random selection. They selected both groups from the same ad. So there's I don't believe that those people's hearts were evil, but they didn't have any margin, right? They had to zip over there and get there as soon as possible. And so because they were so busy and because they were so directed, they just didn't take the time. And so I'm sure that some of them later on reflected on that and thought, "Man, I really should have stopped and helped that guy. I should have done something." That second group, because they had margin, because they had time, they weren't in a hurry, they were able to act on their good intentions and that opportunity to serve and help somebody. And so I think that teaches us kind of an important lesson, right? The Good Samaritan is super interesting to me because he was living out of the margins of his life. He had time to stop, time to stop in at the inn, time to help that guy, and then he had money put aside where he could afford to kind of give this guy some help. And so I think that's a big lesson, for me as I think about how I manage my time, and I think about how I manage my money. That when we make sure that we schedule time in our lives, it gives us opportunities to act and do what's good. And so we can act out of the trueness of our heart, right? When I want to help somebody and I come across a need, I can help them. At the same time, if I'm wise with my money and I'm intentional, then I also have the resources to help someone. And so this week, and especially today, I just want you to think about how can you build the proper margins in your life so that you have opportunities to act on the goodness of your heart. I know that you want to help people, and I know that you want to spend time with your family and your kids and do the things that you want to do, but it's going to have to be purposeful, right? So start today and figure out how to build more and more margin into your life so that you can do those things that are so good that you want to do. All right? Have a good day.